Hey, this is Kevin Pollak, and you're listening to WithoutYourHead.com. But I guess you knew that, didn't you? Unless, of course, you lost your head.
Where are you? Are you in Massachusetts?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I recognize the number, the prefix.
Yeah, I noticed that the director's from Boston.
Oh yeah, man. And we're all like, my mother and father retired on Martha's Vineyard, and I've been there since I was a kid. During the summer, and John and I, the director John Stimpson and I, met in 1981. We were both singing cocktail waiters at the Seafood Shanty in Edgartown, Massachusetts, on the Vineyard. Isn't that funny?
Awesome. Yeah, I'm in Sandwich on the Cape, so I'm pretty close to the Vineyard.
It's very close. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it is very nice.
Lucky. Yeah.
So anyway, I'm here with Roger Bart from Ghostlight, who I believe it just premiered in Los Angeles Film Festival. So how did that go?
Right. Oh, it was great. It was the first time I'd seen a movie, and I forced myself to wait to see it with an audience, and it was worth it. It was really a charming and unique, funny, and at times a little scary movie. So it was just terrific. It exceeded my expectations.
Mm-hmm. So it was the first time you got to see the finished movie and with an audience. So what's that experience like, not only seeing it for the first time, but having the audience there?
Oh, gosh. Well, it's most actors will tell you that, seeing yourself on camera is you have to kind of squirm a little bit and get used to it. Because, I didn't realize that I needed to really lose that 10 pounds as badly as I did. And sometimes my face was a little busier than I would have wanted. And I was sometimes shocked by how many close-ups there were of me. But the audience was enjoying the movie so much around me and laughing at places that were, and I hoped that would be funny. So it ultimately was it's really thrilling and really, for all the discomfort of seeing yourself, it's a lot better than going to the theater and never seeing yourself in anything. So I'm always acutely aware of how lucky I am to be up there on the screen and be able to watch myself and sitting with my family around me. It was great fun.
Yeah. Now, when I'm at festivals and I talk to the people in the movies or make the movies, a lot of times they're surprised by different reactions from the audience. Was there anything that surprises you? Like either they got a different reaction than you expected, or maybe something got like a bigger laugh than you expected, or didn't get a laugh that you thought would get a big laugh?
No, I thought it was pretty, consistent. I was. The things that really kind of were the most surprising to me are the things that I have a hard time imagining, which are special effects, which were really terrific in the movie, how scary some of the moments were with the witches and some of the demons that are released from the curse, and the sound and the music. Those are the elements that are layered in that that I was most impressed and sort of the movie to a whole different level.
Mm-hmm. When we first started talking here, you mentioned that you've known John, the director, John Stimpson, for a long time. So did you keep in touch this whole time? Have you guys been friends since the 80s?
No, it was like a quick summer. It was there were, I think, 3 guys and 3 girls and a piano player of the Seafood Shanty. We all got to know each other pretty well. We hung out on days off. But we didn't, it was, we were in college, so you know what that's like. And it was also, by the way, before email. So
yeah.
It was just, like, in order for us to have kept up, we would have had to, call.
Actually write letters. Right, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And that wasn't, we were good friends, but I don't think it was. We both got re-immersed immediately into the universities we were at and studying hard. And then the next year I came back one more year there, and he wasn't there. He was doing something else. And, that was the last I sort of heard from him. But he said that he had been tracking my career and always enjoying what I was doing, and I didn't know that he had went in to pursue acting for a little bit and then became a director. So imagine my happy astonishment when I received a letter and an offer to do this movie from him, a reminder of who he was. And so our first lunch together was so fun because it was I brought along photographs from that period, and we both had a lot more hair, and we're a lot skinnier, and we talked about the movie, and we talked about our lives for the last 30 years. So it was really pretty cool. And once you do spend a summer with somebody and hanging out and working, there's just such a there's a bond there that's that sort of just makes working in the present day just easier. There's a shorthand. We just know each other. It's terrific.
Mm-hmm. When you mentioned earlier about watching the movie and then you have the sound and the score, the effects and everything. When you do other movies, kind of when you're the actor, I guess after you're done filming, that's kind of you're the last that you have any hands on what happens. So, are there times when you watch a movie you're in, and I guess kind of like how important is editing and in making a movie? Because they could totally make it totally different from what you did. I know. When you're filming.
Extraordinary. Well, it certainly makes you more careful about what you do in your scenes. You have control over the choices you present them with, and the director will probably give you a couple of adjustments. And then sometimes when you aren't absolutely concrete, clear on what a scene is about, you're potentially more open to direction and instruction. And film is really much more of the director's and the writer's medium in that, they will have the ultimate say as to how they piece it together. And over these years, I've just found that I've really learned, and I pretty much always have, but I've learned to just place all my trust in that they're going to choose the take that is the best for telling the story, and you have to let go. Whereas in the theater, as you know, it's much more of an actor's medium, and we get to control so much during the course of performance as to what our choices are, and how we can conduct ourselves through a performance. So to be able to be in both worlds for me over these years has been really fun. Particularly as I've become more acquainted with how things work in TV and film. It's been really, it's something I always thought it was a part of acting that I knew the least about for about 15 or 20, my first 15 years of doing this. And now it's fun to know how it works so much better. And so gratified.
Do you think that was important that you had a theater background to do the specific movie Ghostlight?
It really helped just because I knew who these people were in the company. I knew the actors, what they were like, what they were going through. I knew what their life is like. I could fill in a lot of blanks more than I would playing a Wall Street broker. I just know the life, so there was a lot less homework involved.
So, have you ever done Macbeth?
I haven't, no. Mm-mm.
Is that true? Well, maybe not true, but is there really like the legend that there's a curse on Macbeth?
Well, I think some of it comes from the incantations that the witches do, which I believe were sort of real black magic, stuff that Shakespeare decided to put down. There's something authentic about it. I think that, to this day, still, in all the years that I've been around theater, there is a lot of respect for that exact curse, the one of the Scottish play. And so even though we may laugh as we make somebody go through the ritual of running around the theater 3 times and spitting and knocking on the door and asking to please let it back in. We do it through laughter, but we also make sure it gets done. You know, as I was saying to somebody else, you know, when you're working on stage, sometimes you'll have, you know, giant, 2-ton things hanging over your head, and so you kind of just want to err on the side of
right,
safe, you know.
Yeah. All right. It's not going to hurt anything to
yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. And it is one of the fun things. There's certain, you know, superstition is amusing. So so people love it. It's something we share. It's that lore of the theater, which I love. You know, I love tradition, stuff like that.
So when John contacted you, did he write the Henry role for you? Or did he just want you involved in general?
He wanted me involved. You know, they had written, you know, all of these characters, you know, based really on no one, and just their imaginations and how they suited this company of actors. And then when it was all done, he thought of me, and he has told me that he'd always wanted to work with me. And of course, I echoed that sentiment once I knew he was directing, and I just wanted to see him and do something with him. So it was a really terrific fit. So I'm just glad he thought of me.
Yeah. When you just talk about the superstitions, I was thinking that's kind of cool in a way too, because it's like a history there, and to know that like you know, for I guess centuries, for at least decades, anyway, centuries, that people have done the same thing. On the, you know, whenever they're doing that particular play.
Absolutely, yeah, and then in theaters in London and theaters in New York, you know, they're old buildings. You know, that there are always stories of them being haunted. You know, there's something magical about them, and you know, we're in there making magic and telling stories and trying to uplift the spirits of the people who walk into the theater and change their lives or get them out of their heads and give them a good laugh and just all the wonderful things that theater provides. And I think that the fact that the buildings that we're working in are, you know, filled with history and hauntings and superstitions, it taps into that part of us that's very important to work from as actors, and that's that sense of play and that sense of being a child. You know, a lot of times when we were studying acting, we were often to be, you know, encouraged to be in a childlike state, a state of play and imagination. And so all of those elements help, you know, create that world for us. When you walk in from Times Square and into a building, and you know the magic's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. It has an amazing cast in addition to yourself. Do you know if the other cast members all have a theater background?
I think most of them do. I don't know if anybody doesn't. I don't know if Carrie Elways did theater. I'm not sure, but I know everybody else did. I was not absolutely sure about Carrie, but you know, most people do find themselves on a stage at a pretty young age, and it changes them forever. So, you know, everyone knew what we were doing. That's for sure. So
yeah,
it seems that way.
So when you first got into acting, did you do theater first? I assume.
Yeah. I wish they, you know, back when we were studying it, I wish that they had, you know, we had cameras at school, and we did, you know, we were learning kind of theater and film acting. You know, it was Sanford Meisner technique, and so, you know, and then we definitely worked with our bodies in a way that was operating the assumption that theater would be the place we would end up. And so when I got out of school in college, I was so skinny and so, you know, I don't know how anybody was going to hire me. And I thought that the area of least resistance to hiring me was going to be in musical theater, because I was also happened to sing. And so that was my way to be able to, I always say, because I was bartending, to get from behind bars. and working and learning. And so I spent years, once you get into the agent filing cabinet back then of musical theater, you sometimes will stay there. And it was really, with the exception of a few plays and a few little TV spots, it was really when I did the producers on Broadway where my world opened up for me in terms of film and television.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw that you did the producers, and I love the play and both versions of the movie.
Yeah, oh, good.
Yeah,
I'm proud of it.
There's
a great experience.
There's a part of the movie Ghostlight where kind of like where the demons, everything kind of plays off the jealousy of the actors. Is that a big part of in the acting world, jealousy?
It's probably part of every
that's true
business and every world. Yeah. I think there's always going to be somebody who is doing a smaller gig who's looking at somebody who's maybe potentially being paid better and has a bigger job, is flashier, and just occasionally just sort of wish it was them. The one thing that's sort of unique to theater is the relationship between understudy and lead part. And that is not something that necessarily is replicated in business world. But there has to be somebody who is prepared to go on for you when you get sick or out of the show or can't make it, or, in certain cases, Ghostlight, if you die. So that is a unique relationship because with two healthy actors, it would be a very normal relationship and kind of fun. But in the hands of possibly an ambitious understudy, it can get a little weird. As a matter of fact, I was on Grace and Frankie about 2 years ago, and I played a guy named Steve Clarington, who was based on Eve Harrington, and I was the understudy of Martin Short in the all-gay 1776 that he was doing. So I explored that uncomfortable dynamic thoroughly, and Matt, if you ever get a chance to see it, really funny.
I'd like to see it.
But it's a funny relationship, that one. And there are people in this show, as you know, in Ghostlight, that are understudied, and they don't like being understudied.
This might be more of a question for John, but do you know where the movie goes from here? Like, once it does the festival runs?
I think that's totally a question for John. He'll know the answer to that, and he'll know his goals. Yeah. We're excited. We're excited it's getting out there, and and that people like yourself are seeming to really enjoy it. We're very proud of it.
Yeah, I dug it a lot. So it's very cool. Yeah. So, and real quick, where can we see you sing? Since you mentioned that you sing, what play or movie could we watch to see that?
Oh, well, this is a kind of fun one. I don't know if you have any kids, but I was the singing voice of the Disney animated feature of Hercules. So actually, my song was called "Go the Distance." It was nominated for an Oscar, and the cover was done by Michael Bolton. Isn't that funny? So that's a great movie and a great song. And other than that, I was Snoopy on Broadway. I sang a lot then, and I was also in the direct-to-video Lady and the Tramp Part 2, singing the lead voice of that dog. So I've sung a lot of dog roles. I don't understand what that's about. But I was working something out.
Yeah, we need a singing dog. Get me Roger Bart.
Yeah, exactly. I was on that short list for a while, short tail list.
Yeah. And you don't need kids to see Hercules. It's a good movie.
No, it's a good movie, man. It is. I agree.
Yeah. Well, thank you for talking to me.
It was great chatting with you, and I hope the weather's beautiful there today. I hope my mom is having a beautiful day on the vineyard. I think today. I think she's packing up and splitting for the season. So,
all right.
So, hope it's lovely. All right, man. It's talking to you.
Thank you. Bye.
Hi, everybody. This is Tommy Lee Wallace. I'm a film director and writer and several other things that I won't go into. And you are listening to Without Your Head.
Hey. Hey.
How's it going?
Doing? Good, thanks.
Excellent.
Yeah. So I just talked to Roger in your movie, and he told me, well, he saw the area code knew I was from Massachusetts too, and he told me about you guys knew each other back in the 80s. So
Yeah.
what was it about him that you thought would be good for your movie Ghostlight?
Oh gosh, so many things. I mean, yes, we sang together. Did he tell you the story of how we sang together in a bar in Martha's Vineyard, the Seafood
Just
Shanty?
real briefly.
Yeah. Yeah, we did. We did sort of a Broadway kind of review thing with a little bit of contemporary poppy stuff that we mixed in. It was really fun because we were just cocktail waitresses or waiters, waitresses,
Right.
and would do this little review show to all the boaters and other people that would come into Edgartown Harbor, and we could do whatever we wanted and put on this show and perform whatever. We had a wonderful pianist who could play anything, and so it was just a real treat to be able to do this thing. And I was blown away with his talent at the time, particularly as a singer. I mean, and you listen to him on the Hercules soundtrack, and he's so good. I mean, he's done so many things, producers and others, Broadway work and Snoopy and the whole thing. So he was. But I saw him back then when we were probably 18 years old, and thought, oh my God, this kid is so talented. And, it was the kind of thing where we spent that summer together every single day, rehearsing and performing late into the night. And even though it was just a couple of months, it was this bond, you spend that kind of precious time with somebody at that age and you remember it so well. So as I tracked his career and was so proud to see how well he was doing, and I kept thinking, gosh, wouldn't it be fun someday that we could work together? And, when this thing came along, I was just, you start a project like this and you get you start to get your financing together and you're like, we got to build the package. We need to sort of get some attachments so that we can, sell this thing or get this thing financed and make it. I thought, well, maybe this is the perfect chance to reach out to Roger because, he would be so terrific in the role of Henry, the director. And that's what I did. So I didn't have his number. I hadn't talked to him in years. And so we reached out through his agent. I wrote him a letter through his agent. I said, Roger, it's John. Remember me? I said, I've got this part and I think you'd be terrific. And it was great because he read the script and like all the other wonderful actors we got in our cast, he responded right away to the material. And it was so heartwarming and gratifying to know that we'd written a good script that actors really wanted to be part of. And so Roger said yes and became the cornerstone of our cast. It was just remarkable. So yeah, it's a treat to get to finally reconnect with him and work with him on this, and hopefully we'll get to do other things down the road. Yeah.
So you specifically thought of him for the role of Henry?
Well, I can't really say that. I mean, that would be the romantic way to twist the tale. But I don't really do that. I don't write with specific actors in mind. I didn't mean necessarily write it, but when you asked him to be in it, you thought the role of Henry would have been right for him. Oh yes, exactly. No, I just thought with his theatrical background, he'd be perfect as the stabilizing rudder of this crazy group of people that could keep the train on track and get to opening night. That's somebody he ended up being perfect for that. And it was fun. I mean, it was fun to have he as well as other actors that have had a lot of stage experience, Carol and so forth, that have really been on Broadway and know that world and know the world of the cinema, but not just the cinema, but of the stage as well. So yeah. By the way, I'm here with John Stimpson, the director and co-writer of Ghostlight, and I believe you're at the Los Angeles Film Festival right now. That's correct. I'm here. We had our premiere last night, and it went great. And with any luck, we're gonna get some buyers to be interested in our movie and get some distribution, get it out into the world. It was really fun to be included in the program here, and Heidi Honeycutt, who programmed the Nightfall section, just thought it was such a fun, dark comedy that she was so complimentary. And when she called me and asked me to be here, to come and screen here, and the timing couldn't have been better to premiere here in Los Angeles. So we're thrilled to be here. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was your first time seeing the movie with an audience.
Yeah, well, with a public audience, we had done friends and family in a cast screening back east, but when we finished, but this was the first public screening, and it's always fun to it's nerve wracking. I gotta say, you never know what you're gonna get, and you really hope people like it. But to hear them laugh and jump and startles, and it's wonderful. And it's funny because some of the festival people are like, "Well, are you gonna sit through the screening?" I'm like, "Well, of course I'm gonna sit through the screening. I wouldn't miss it." I've seen this movie thousands of times, but this is it. This is the premiere. I want to feel the energy in the room, and it was really great energy. So.
Yeah. Were there any surprises by any of the reactions? Maybe something got a bigger laugh than you expected, or?
Nothing. Nothing that was a surprise necessarily.
Yeah.
What's that?
I said it's probably a good thing then.
Yeah, no.
They laughed at the right places.
They laughed at the right places. Yeah, they did, and it was really more a matter of the scale of the laugh, or the bigness of the laugh, or the startle that was fun to see. And there were moments that I didn't necessarily anticipate. I mean, they were amusing, but I didn't anticipate out loud chuckles, but and we did get them in several spots, and that's great. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
comedy's tricky, you never know. You never know.
Yeah. So where did the story come from?
I've done I did a lot of musical theater and as a kid and through college, and so I spent a lot of time in the theater. I always just loved the crazy superstitions that actors and theater people believe in and take so seriously, and so I well, he said, well, let's explore that, and of all the superstitions, the most famous is the superstition and the curse of the Scottish play. And I said, well, let's figure that out, and so I'd come up with this one-page treatment of a story of a traveling Shakespeare troupe in Western Mass who unwittingly or on purpose or however just got to unleash the curse, and it was sort of in just a sketch of an idea, and I pitched it to my collaborator Jeff Taylor, and who we ended up we wrote the script and produced the movie together, and he just loved it, and he said, "This is so fun." And he was an English major and was a big Shakespeare fan, and so we said, "Yeah, let's do this." And it was just so fun to dream up the scenario of the characters, and to think about, well, all right, well, if there really is a curse, where does it come from? What's the origin of it, and what happens if you don't undo it? I mean, there's so many stories of tragedies happening on stage when people don't pay attention to it or don't take it seriously, and we just sort of dug in and thought about, well, okay, it probably has something to do with the witches and the actual black magic that Shakespeare wrote into the incantations that the witches give when they're doing their double boil and trouble speeches. And so that was just so fun to play with and develop, and I think it really delivers. Yeah.
And when you're writing something like that, I think you have to take into account, like, there's going to be people who know about that, and then there's going to be people that who don't have any type of connection to the theater. So you have to make it that everyone will understand, the story you're trying to tell and the idea of a curse.
Yes, yeah, and that was part of the introduction of the movie. Having that Scottish loch shot where we would track along the ocean or the water rather, and we come upon this old castle and the lightning, and we have this booming voiceover about, that 400 years ago, William Shakespeare wrote Macbeth, the most haunted and tragic and cursed play of all. And, that set it up in that way. And then, the first scenes of the movie with our younger characters who are new to the troupe and new to the theater, are there to sort of be the teach the audience what this is all about, and so that when we do set off the curse, we understand how important it is and how seriously people take it.
Mm-hmm. Do you yourself believe in curses?
I believe there's definitely something out there that's beyond what our five senses can understand and sense and deal with, for sure. I don't go through life worried about it much.
Right.
I don't change what I do. But I definitely think there's something to this stuff. There's too many stories that people tell, and people that are more sensitive, perhaps. I do think that certain people do have an awareness and a sensitivity to these, this stuff that I perhaps don't. And I've heard some amazing things that people have experienced. So it does always intrigue me. And I've done other movies that have dug in on this kind of spiritual or ghostly level. And it's always a fun topic to play with. Yeah.
Have you had any experiences, even if it's not something, huge, just like a feeling or anything?
Gosh, I had one experience. I did a movie a few years ago called The Legend of Lucy Keys, which is about a little girl who went lost in the woods 250 years ago, and her mother still haunts the woods where she disappeared. And people through the ages have heard Martha Keys, hollering "Lucy, Lucy" in the woods. And I had done a party one time out there, and we had done a snowshoe through the woods out to what I call Lucy Keys Rock, where the little girl disappeared. And I, had it all lit with torches, and we tromped up in the woods, and I got up on the rock and I told the story of this little girl who went missing. And it's this really, wonderful local legend, a tragic story of this missing girl. And the next day, when I went around to retrieve all the torches that had been burning to light our way up to the rock, all the torches were out. This is probably 18 hours later, whenever all the torches were out except the one that was burning at the rock itself. And as I kind of got a little creeped out by that and started to gather it up and start tromping my way back home, I swear I heard Martha calling Lucy in the woods. So, that's about as creepy as it's gotten for me, but it's fun to think about.
Yeah. The Ghostlight is a great cast. Pretty much everybody in
fabulous cast. Yeah.
Yeah. So, was it important for you to try to get people that did have a theater background?
It did help, and certainly it was helpful for if they had kind of an understanding of Macbeth, the play. Mm-hmm. And I think, all the actors did kind of bone up on it to get familiarized with it, because we do, not that we get too deep into it, but we do touch on the play, and our characters, our two main characters, certainly parallel the characters in the play. It was nice to have. I didn't make that a prerequisite by any means. I wanted good actors regardless, and the way we approached it was very much a very filmic way of acting. It wasn't a big, broad, stagey kind of approach that we took to the actual production of Macbeth that we did, or the pieces of the play that we did. So I was going for a quieter, more intimate, acting style, not a big, broad theatrical one. So I just wanted good actors that fit the roles.
Yeah. Yeah. Where does Ghostlight go from here?
Well, I'm hoping we can attract a really good distribution company to take it out worldwide in some fashion or another. We've terrific representation with CAA, and I know there were a lot of buyers in the screening last night, and there are more coming in New York on Monday, and another screening on Friday here at the festival. So, I've got my fingers crossed for that we make a good deal with somebody who can take it out as in such as broad a way as possible. So we'll see.
All right, very good. Well, I really dug it, and as a huge fan of Mr. Show, I'm always happy to see Scott Adsit pop up in anything. He's the man.
No kidding.
And,
He's the best.
Yeah, he's the best.
Where are you? Yeah, where are you from now? You in your 508 area code. Where are you?
I'm on the Cape in Sandwich.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, yeah. We spent our summers in North Falmouth in Megansett.
All right, yeah, it's not very far at all.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
Well,
Cool. Well,
thanks
thank you
for
so much.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
And I look forward to I look forward to checking out some of your other movies too.
Yeah, go. Yeah, absolutely. We shot a lot of movies in Massachusetts. It's been fun. That's been kind of my motto is let's keep the work here at home. And I've screened a lot of films at the Woods Hole Film Festival, and been involved with the Mass Production Coalition and advocating for the tax credit and all that good stuff. So, yeah, it's great. My office is out in Worcester, though.
Okay, yeah, West. All right, very cool.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right, cool, man.
Yep.
Have a good
day. You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Neil.
Thank you.
Hey, this is Monroe Chambers from Turbo Kid, and you're listening to Without Your Head.